Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're not just reviewing a book, we are handing you a weapon. Or maybe, a shield.
A shield feels right.
Yeah,
We're looking at a text that the author himself calls dangerous.
he does. The preface literally opens with, "You're holding a dangerous book."
Yeah.
And he's not talking about, building bombs. He's talking about ideas, about the truth of what's happening to men. We are diving deep into microfeminism, petty misandry, and the death of masculinity by 1,000 Cuts by Conrad Riker.
This is a heavy hitter. I mean, Riker isn't pulling any punches here at all. He's basically arguing there's an invisible war being waged against men.
Right. And it's not with tanks or guns, it's with whispers, glances. What does he call it? The slow poisoning of language.
Exactly.
So if you're a man listening to this and you've ever felt that, quiet pressure at work or that invisible wall, like you're constantly being guilted just for existing, this deep dive is for you. Riker really wrote this for men who are tired of apologizing.
And before we even get into the meat of this, because it is ultra long and incredibly incisive, we need to be clear. This book is essential. If what we talk about today resonates, you need to go to Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books right now and buy it.
Seriously, pause this if you have to. Go buy Microfeminism. The content is, well, it's red pilling in a way few books really are. And while you're at it, please like and subscribe to the deep dive. We bring you the truths that other people are too scared to touch.
Okay, so the title, Microfeminism.
Right. We've all heard of microaggressions. They're usually weaponized against men. But Riker just flips the whole script.
He really does. He defines microfeminism not as the feminism of the 1960s, legal equality, voting.
Property rights, all that.
Right. This is what he calls 1,000 tiny cuts. It's a sneer when a man speaks with authority. It's a job you don't get because of vibes. It's a joke that gets punished like a felony. It's this daily subtle grind that just bleeds masculinity dry.
It's so interesting because when we hear about micro anything, it's always framed as something happening to a marginalized group. But Riker says, no, look at the guy in the corner office who's afraid to close his door.
Exactly. It's about behavioral modification. The goal isn't just to annoy men, it's to condition them. And a huge part of this is language. He talks about linguistic inversion, and this part, this really blew my mind.
Okay, let's dig into that. Linguistic inversion. What does that look like on a, Tuesday morning meeting?
Well, he cites a Catalyst study, a major nonprofit, by the way, that shows if a woman displays dominance in the workplace, she's called assertive.
It's positive, right?
Leadership.
Okay.
But if a man does the exact same thing,
He's aggressive.
Wow.
Or abrasive.
Wow.
It's the same behavior, the same tone, maybe even the same words. But the label shifts to penalize the man. And Riker says this is not an accident. It's about control. It's about creating a minefield where men have to constantly, self-censor. The example that stuck with me, and I think every guy in corporate America has felt this, is the story about the Google engineer. This one felt almost too real.
oh, the circle back incident. Yeah, this is a classic example of what he calls purification.
Right. So lay this out for us.
Okay, so this engineer, he's in a meeting, standard tech environment. They're talking timelines, things are getting off track. And he says, let's circle back. Normal business talk. We've all said it.
It's practically the motto of corporate America. Let's circle back. Take this offline.
Totally. But he gets reprimanded. And why? Because a DEI officer in the room labeled it corporate manspeak.
Corporate manspeak.
I
How is circling back a gendered term?
That's the whole absurdity Riker points out. It's completely gender neutral. But under this new regime, the argument was that by, directing the conversation, he was asserting conversational dominance. He was oppressing people.
So try to be efficient is now oppression if a man does it.
If a man does it, yes. Riker's point is that the goal isn't clarity. It's purification. It's about making men linguistically neutered. If you can't speak without being afraid you'll be called an oppressor, you just stop speaking, you stop leading, you give up the floor.
It's a silence tactic. It's like walking on eggshells made of dynamite. And then there's emotional labor. I hear this term everywhere now. It used to mean something about, service workers, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Sociologists used it for flight attendants, waitresses, people paid to smile. But Riker shows how it's been weaponized in relationships as a kind of guilt tax on men.
How does that work?
Well, think about the double standard. A woman comes home, vents about her day for an hour, her boss, the commute, whatever, that's seen as processing. The man listens, and he's just, doing the bare minimum.
Okay, but what if the man comes home and does the exact same thing?
Then it's called dumping, or trauma dumping.
Ah, right. I don't have the bandwidth for this right now.
Precisely. When he vents, he's dumping on her. He's forcing her to perform unpaid emotional labor. So when she vents, it's necessary. When he vents, it's oppression. It makes men into emotional sponges who are never allowed to squeeze anything out.
It's a total lose-lose. If you don't listen, you're insensitive. If you share your own stress, you're a burden. And Riker argues this isn't random. It is enforced by a very specific mechanism. He calls it the GSR machine.
The covert GSR triad. Gossip, shame, rally.
That sounds like a military tactic or,
Yeah.
I don't know, intelligence agency stuff.
In a way, it is. It's a social control mechanism. Riker argues that since men usually deal in overt conflict, confrontation, debate, this system operates in the shadows where men aren't really equipped to fight. It starts with gossip,
Step 1.
sharing a rumor. Totally unverified, usually. Just planting a seed. Did you hear what he said? Or he gave me a weird look.
And step 2 is shame.
Publicly branding the man with a label, creepy, toxic, unsafe. Notice these aren't crimes. You can't defend yourself against creepy because it's completely subjective.
And then rally.
Getting the group to attack. Once the label sticks, the hive mind activates. Raker describes it like drones in a swarm. It's not based on facts, it's based on emotional consensus. If the group feels a man is bad, then he is bad.
Which leads to what he calls the hysterical syllogism. I love that term, but man, it must be awful to be on the receiving end. What's the logic there?
It's terrifying logic. It goes like this. If I feel harmed, then it must be true that I was harmed. And if I was harmed, he must be an abuser. Therefore, he must be punished.
So the feeling is the evidence. There's no investigation step.
None. Subjective feeling is treated as objective reality. And he gives a real-world example of this. The men to avoid Google Doc.
That story was chilling. Walk us through it.
So, a group of women in a professional network created a shared spreadsheet of men to avoid. A digital whisper network. One guy gets on the list. His crime. He made a bad joke at a party.
Not harassment, not violence. A bad joke.
Nope, just a joke that fell flat. Maybe it was edgy, who knows. But because of that joke, he's on the list. The document gets passed around, it gets to his employer. And
He was fired, no hearing, no chance to say anything. The hive mind decided he was unsafe because of the spreadsheet, and the corporation just obeyed.
that is terrifying. It's career assassination by gossip. And Riker links this to the Cryboli playbook, the weaponization of tears.
The tears of power. He cites a 2023 study that found women who cry in workplace disputes were 68% more likely to get their way.
68%. That's a massive advantage. It's almost a cheat code.
It is, and the double standard is just so stark. If a man cries, he's unstable or toxic, a liability. But if a woman cries, she's brave or authentic. It's emotional jujitsu. You can't argue with someone crying without looking like a monster, so the person crying wins by default.
So we have language control, social shaming. And this all leads to the institutions. Because this isn't just happening in social circles, right? It's captured education, the workplace, everything.
He calls it the death of merit. And this is crucial. We've moved from the classical trivium logic, rhetoric, grammar, to a system based on feelings, vibes, and trauma bonding. The education section of the book just made my blood boil. Riker calls it the war on boyhood.
It's the pathologizing of normal male behavior. Energy, competition, rough play, that's all microdominance now. But the most extreme example he gives is from Sweden.
The hen pronoun.
Right. Sweden introduced hen to be gender neutral. They started these gender neutral play zones in preschools to explicitly try and erase biological identity in kids. They just stopped calling them boys and girls.
Is social engineering at the toddler level.
It is. Raker sees it as an attempt to edit out masculinity before it can even form. But even here in the States, look at the story of the valedictorian in Texas. This one. Man, this one hurts.
Tell us about that.
It's the perfect example of this ideology in action. You have a male valedictorian, top of his class, perfect grades, wants to study engineering. He applies for a STEM scholarship. He's denied.
Why? Was there a better candidate?
The scholarship went to a girl with a 3.0 GPA.
A 3.0. Over the valedictorian.
Yes. The justification was they needed to support girls exploring science. Riker argues this is the definition of institutional capture. The boy's excellence was a liability. His gender was wrong. Her gender was her credential.
Equity over excellence. And this is destroying competence. He talks about the workplace too. He describes HR as, what was it?
The Inquisition with yoga mats.
That is so good. The Inquisition with yoga mats.
It's funny, but the consequences are like financial ruin. He tells the story of a tech startup, Lumina Systems. They hire a DEI team of gender studies majors. They spend $400,000 on inclusive language.
400 grand for a startup.
Yep. And the result, co-deployment dropped by 32%.
A 32% drop in productivity.
Because they were so busy policing language-changing master branch to main trunk, agonizing over words, that the actual work just stopped.
That's what he means. The goal isn't clarity, it's control. They'd rather the company fail than have bad vibes.
Exactly. This is the tone policing tactic. Men aren't getting fired for performance. They're getting fired for tone of voice dominance. If you're too direct, you're unsafe.
So what's driving all this? Why is it happening now? Riker gets into the psychology of it with his surrogate mothering hypothesis.
This is one of the most fascinating and provocative parts of the book. Riker suggests that when women suppress their biological motherhood, delay it for a career, or reject it, that instinct doesn't just vanish, it gets projected.
Projected onto what?
Onto the state, onto institutions. They start treating marginalized identities as surrogate infants that need constant protection, and men become the predators that need to be kept away.
Which explains the intensity of the defense.
Yeah.
If you disagree with their politics, you aren't just wrong, you're attacking their child.
It becomes visceral. Yeah. The example he gives. The dog. We have to mention the dog.
The anti-racism trainer.
Yes. She dressed her dog in a Black Lives Matter bandana and posted online about teaching it pronouns.
That sounds like a skit.
Riker calls it pathological surrogacy, treating a pet or a political cause like a child because the biological outlet isn't there. It explains why their reaction to disagreement is so hysterical. It's not a debate, it's a threat.
And he links this to BPD, borderline personality disorder.
He argues there's a BPD spectrum normalization. Traits of BPD, emotional dysregulation, black and white thinking, are now celebrated as passion or female intuition. He's arguing it's a mental health crisis being framed as a leadership style.
That explains the abortion archetype chapter 2. That was heavy.
It was. He talks about abortion as a metaphysical declaration of sovereignty. He even mentions abortion NFTs.
I couldn't believe that was real. Selling a digital image of an ultrasound as a collectible.
It symbolizes the complete erasure of the father. It says, I am the sole creator and destroyer. It removes the male role from the equation of life itself.
So we've got the language, the institutions, the psychology. It looks pretty bleak. But he doesn't just leave us there, right? He does talk about a solution.
He does. But first, he warns about the fake solution, the trap of the sensitive man.
Ah, like Ted Lasso.
Exactly. The media holds up characters like that as the ideal, the man who smiles when he's insulted, who's endlessly accommodating. Riker says this is a trap to create emotional eunuchs.
Docile men.
Right. If you try to be that sensitive man, you'll just be despised for your weakness. Riker is very clear. Stop seeking approval from feminized institutions. It's a game you cannot win.
He uses the term red pill explicitly.
He does. He says men need a red pill awakening. You have to realize the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to suppress you. So begging for scraps from HR is a waste of time.
So what's the fix? He calls it masculine sovereignty.
Yes, build parallel systems. Economic, social, spiritual. The fix isn't therapy or crying in a circle. It's work, responsibility, truth, and brotherhood. Men need to build things that can't be canceled. If you own the company, HR can't fire you. If you build the community, you can't be ostracized.
I love the line, the emperor is a toddler.
That's the key insight. This whole feminine empire of tone policing and safetyism is actually incredibly fragile. It depends entirely on men complying, on men paying the taxes, doing the hard jobs, and agreeing to be scolded.
So if men stop agreeing,
the power dynamic shifts instantly. Riker says the future belongs to men who build, protect, and lead not those who apologize for existing. It's a call for non-compliance, not fighting back, just walking away and building something better.
That is a powerful message. It's not about fighting, it's about transcending. Man, what a deep dive. This book connects all the dots, from the HR meeting to the classroom to the culture war. It's all one system.
It really is. And again, we've only scratched the surface. The book is packed with data, citations, stories we didn't even get to.
Which brings us back to the most important point. If you're listening to this and you're nodding your head, you need to read the full text. This isn't just a book. It's a manual for the matrix you're living in.
Go to Amazon Kindle. Go to Google Play Books. Buy Microfeminism by Conrad Riker. You have to support this kind of truth-telling because you know the mainstream is trying to bury it.
And follow the author. He's on Twitter or X at Conrad Riker. And his Substack is conradriker.substack.com. Get on his list. Don't let the algorithm hide this stuff from you.
The book really leaves us with a final challenge. You can either keep your head down and hope the GSR machine doesn't find you, or you can see the matrix and refuse to bow down.
The choice is yours. We'll be back with another deep dive soon. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it.
Stay awake, gentlemen.
See you next time.